When the moon hits your eye like a big pizza pie, that's amore. When the world seems to shine like you've had too much wine, that's amore.
Buongiorno, signore e signoria. Oggi facciamo un poco di salsiccia alla romana. Alla Galileo, sai? Ladies and gentlemen, today we're going to make some sausage, as I call it, alla romana. This is commonly known as a Boston butt. Questa qua in italiano si chiama spalla di maiale. È proprio una carne speciale. Now what we are doing, ladies and gentlemen, we are slicing up the pork butt, which eventually will be cubed to the proper size so that we can put it through the grinder. You never throw away the bone, because the bone is very, very important if you want to make some sort of a stew. Some people call it goulash, some people call it borscht and stuff like this. These bones with a little bit of meat attached to it give such a flavor to whatever stews you're making, you can't believe. As a matter of fact, some people rather eat the stew and not the sausage. Now what we're doing, we're getting the natural hog casings and cleaning all the preserving salt off them. Turn on your cold water, put it in one end, and then just simply run your fingers down. Takes care of the inside of the casing and the outside. One of the most important aspects of making sausage is to make sure that you have a good grinding cutting tool. This is the secret to making good sausage, good consistency. While I'm loading the grinder with the meat, in order to force the meat through the grinder, my fingers never leave my wrist. Oh, this is going to make beautiful sausage. That completes the grinding part of making sausage. You can see that the meat is evenly ground and it's well marbled, because good sausage, to be tasty, should have a little bit of what we call good fat. Questa si chiama salsiccia alla romana. Now we begin what I consider the most important and integral part of sausage making. That is the addition of the condiments. I generally measure my ground up pork into what I like to call cabbage heads, believe it or not. This is my way of knowing just how much of the condiments I can add here. So I've done it, and I've got approximately 2 cabbage heads here. I will now start to add, as I mentioned earlier, what I consider the most important part of sausage making, and that is adding all these various herbs and condiments. Here we go. I have my own particular way of measuring. This is the way my grandmother taught me. Add it to the meat. That was exactly a tablespoon. Okay, now I'm adding the fennel seed. I think that adding fennel seed to my sausage alla romana gives it a distinct taste. Now we're adding the crushed chili. Some people don't like it. They'll not like it in their sausage. There are others that like it with a little bit of a bite. Hence the addition of the chili. Not too much. I always maintain that if you like crushed chili on any of your food, you don't want to overdo it, so it's got to be a pleasure. Paprika is not only for taste, a subtle taste, but also for color. Okay. Now we begin the process of mixing. Another very, very important part of sausage making is the mixing of the condiments into the meat. And here's what we do. Before we go ahead and put the meat in the casing, traditionally you always try what they call a sample. In Italian that's called campione, a sample. You get a minimum amount of meat and make it into sort of a ball, a meatball. This is done so that the meat binds and it doesn't, when you're frying it, it doesn't fall apart. We now have the finished product of our testing of the sausage meat. E mo volevo assaggiare la salsiccia, which means we will now taste the sausage. I taste the center where it's almost tartar.
It is, yes.
It's not quite cooked enough.
To me it's good. Filling the casing with the ground sausage meat. For the lubrication part, I use a little bit of canola oil or whatever you have available. Then we take our casing, you feed it on. So we'll try 2 lengths here, which is approximately a 1/4 mile of sausage. Mo, questo che facciamo noi, ci mettiamo i budelli. Questi si chiamano i budelli. Budelli di maiale. You tie a little knot. Scusa, I'm all thumbs. There we go. Okay, now that the casing is ready to go, what we're doing now is filling the casing, and I'm applying a certain amount of pressure here, depending on how compact you want the sausage. In this case, we'll leave it a little bit loose because we're going to make links. Io bene, tutte ste parole d'amore. And there you have the finished product. I hope you've enjoyed watching this video as much as I've enjoyed making the sausage. I want you to know that this recipe, salsiccia alla Romana, came from my grandfather and from my father, who made the sausage this way, and that's how I learned how to make it. And with a little patience, you might be able to do that too. Anche, c'ho molto piacere a fare sta salsiccia. E ti ringrazio per guardare e per la vostra pazienza. Buon appetito! Ciao! Thank you very much.